Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to everyone. Welcome to the economic panel breakout session. As you all know, this is the trust of the AMP convention today. Before I go further, let me first go and introduce the panel. I lead the panel. My name is Sani, Hamid. Together with me, the co-head Azmi, board facilitators, and we have also panel members with us, Suhaimi, Ismail is not here, Zoe is here, Ahmad, Ali, Nagusa. These were people who sat in the panel and brainstormed most of the ideas. We had the staff secretary support, Shah, Fauzia, Pulwana. So we actually held our first meeting on the 4th of August in 2009 and concluded our meetings on the 19th of April, and thereafter met more or less in a bigger group with the other panels. In total, we had about 26 meetings. These were quite long meetings. I can remember we usually meet about after Maghrib, about 8, and these discussions could last until 12 midnight and such. So a lot of I would like to personally thank my panel members and the staff. I think we've sacrificed a lot. And also I can tell you that during this 1.5 years, I've not eaten so many pizzas before in my life. I've not eaten so much pizza in my life as coffee, having coffee at a time, and going home after about 2-3 hours. Okay. As part of our meeting with stakeholders and others, we met with the Credit Counseling of Singapore, our DAFI Sense, and even internally with AMP's Fitra division. We even held a talk on the debt issue at AMP. That was held in conjunction with Ikhwan Yaga, Mr. Harif Ikhwan Yaga, and one of the speakers was actually the manager from general manager from Credit Counseling. Those were part of the things we did in order to get a better idea of how to formulate our strategies and recommendations. So basically today we have until about 12. My segment will probably take about 45 minutes at most an hour, say. I think it's going to be less, and then we'll open it up to the audience for Q&A. I think Nizam has really spoken and revealed to you what the actual strategy is. Just to remind you, the overarching convention strategy is strengthening our community's architecture. The economic panel strategy is that of strengthening the community's financial architecture. I'll tell you a little bit later about what's the meaning of financial architecture. Within that, we have 3 recommendations. Our 3 recommendations are the creation of the Debt Advisory Center, the creation of a micro business development fund, and the maximization of efforts to maximize the potential of non-tertiary educated youth. Nizam has explained very much that it focuses on the ITE students, and I'll tell you the ratio or rationale behind that. Before I go further, I think you need to understand how, when we came as a panel, how we actually thought of the strategies, how we actually thought of the recommendation. What we did was we had something called an environmental scan. When we all came together, we first said, what's the situation currently? How does the situation look like? What we realized and what we came up with was pretty common. A lot of effort and resources have been put into uplifting the Malay Muslim community, and sometimes refer them to MMC. The economic potential over the last 20 years. We put a lot of effort in terms of making sure more of our children get to school, more of our kids go into university, making sure that more of our workers actually are better skilled. You know, if you look at the numbers itself, monthly income, median monthly income for the Muslim household now is on the threshold, I think about 3,000 or 3,009. So all these figures, I think, you can even read it in the convention booklet. You can see there has been progress. There's no denying that. Yeah? But I think what Nizam pointed out, so on a relative basis, though, when we look in comparison with other communities, there is this kind of lagging effect. There's this kind of catch-up effect. Just for example, for the Malay community or the Malay Muslim community itself, income, median household income is 3,009. For the Chinese and Indians, it's really gone beyond 5,000 5,001, 5,004, if I'm not correct, 5,370. Yeah. So still there's this, what we call Malay jurang, or this gap between the Malay Muslim community on a relative basis. So what we did was, we then asked ourselves, how do we try and understand? We need to really try and understand, and this is not something I think common to our panel. I think every panel has this question to ask themselves. We need to understand why is it the fact, or why is it the case that community is still lagging behind, despite all the effort, all the resources that have been poured in. And we talk about time, talking about money, we talk about why are they still lagging behind in that particular sense? Is there a drag on the community? Is there something which is preventing them? I think if you go to the religion panel, we talk about religious mindset. If you go to the social panel, we talk about inequality in the workplace. And here, of course, our thesis, or at least our conclusion is that it is something to do with economics, it is something to do with financial architecture. So maybe we need to look at it from a different perspective. We always look at it as we need to, and then Giza mentioned just now, it's always been income assets. We need to get our households to earn more income. We need to make sure that our assets, our children, our workers are better skilled, have better education. But what about the other side of it? They have the time come down to really look at both sides of the coin in order to have a better perspective of what's going on in the community and maybe answer some questions which previously we could not answer. So the panel was actually tasked with coming up with an overarching strategy for the panel itself, and some recommendations with respect to that strategy itself. So to identify the strategy and recommendation, what was necessary is that we had to ask ourselves a few questions. Yeah. Some of these questions were, what is the strategy that will make a difference to the Muslim community over the next decade? We were guided by the fact that we have this convention every 10 years, so our strategy had to be, or has to be, something which goes beyond a couple of years into at least 10 years. Yeah. Then we had to come up with recommendations which then would support the strategy, yeah, in order to make everything coherent in nature. At the end, the strategy really has to be something which deals with, can we explain, can we come up with a relevant framework to explain the dynamics of the Malay Muslim community. What we didn't want was, we didn't want to concentrate on one particular aspect and harp on it. Again, just to put an example, 10 years ago, the hype was about internet, the hype was about technology. So a lot of things was very narrowly focused on, let's get on the internet, let's get our people on the internet, let's do internet business, so on and so forth. Yeah, so we didn't want to get into that kind of situation whereby we took the flavor of the day and just focused on it. What we wanted was, we wanted to come up with a strategy which would be all-encompassing and could stand the test of time, at least over the next few years or decades or even further. Yeah, to give the community something to look at from a different perspective. So we came up with this, and if you look at this, it is nothing new if you've taken accountancy before. It is probably something new if you haven't, but I will explain it and in further detail. This is something called a network approach. Okay? The network approach is not something new. It is basically saying that income minus expenditure, you get net income. To be positive, to be negative. If in this particular situation it is a negative, it adds on to liability. Because if you spend more than you earn, you need to finance it. So either it goes into your balance sheet, into your liability section. If it's a positive, in general, it moves to your asset. We believe this is very important because the interaction between assets and liabilities, when you net it off, you actually find out whether that particular entity has a positive net worth or a negative net worth. This is not something which we came up with in any textbooks, but it is being used on an individual level. When you go and see your financial planners, they sit down with you, they'll ask what your income is, what your expenditure is, what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and they'll tell you where your weaknesses are, where you can improve, so on and so forth. It is being used on corporate level. You have corporate balance sheets, you have corporate financial statements, the corporates need to know what their network with the equity, shareholders, equity, so on and so forth. So this concept is also used on corporate. And it's also been used in countries. you have your budgets annually, you have your countries having assets and liabilities, your right now debt to GDP is such a big thing. Everybody's trying to find out which country has the highest debt to GDP ratio in the world, so on and so forth. So this concept is being used to assess individuals, corporates, and countries throughout everywhere. So what we're saying is that why don't we use this concept and try and assess emerging Muslim community? Can it be used for community? And our conclusion was yes, why not? In fact, when you use it as on the community basis, maybe we can answer a few questions which have been left unanswered over the past couple of years. And I'll go a bit on that a bit later. So basically, our conclusion that this actually would help us very much when we want to come up with a recommendation, because we have a framework to work with, and not just come up with recommendations coming from the sky. This is the everybody's talking about this, we should go into this, so on and so forth. So we have to work within a framework, and this I think gave us a very good framework. Now that we had a framework, the next challenge of course was to come up with the recommendations. What are the recommendations that will fortify to go in and strengthen this framework, will go in and find weaknesses within this framework, and thus try and counter the threats, yeah, or even find opportunities. We are very cognizant of the fact that some of these things have possibly potentially been done, because what we did was we looked into the various segments, income, expenditure, asset liability. We said, what can we do in income that will help the community's income? What can we do in expenditure that will help the community's expenditure? What can we do in assets? And what can we do in liability? So we came up with a whole list. Yeah? Then the second thing we asked ourselves is anybody doing that already? Because there's no use overlapping, there's no use going into this segment if someone is already doing it. So we were very aware of the fact that we didn't want to overlap if someone was already in that particular space. Yeah? More importantly, when we shortlisted it, then we asked ourselves, are there gaps? What do I mean by gaps? Gaps is, there's probably something out there, there could be things out there which people are doing, but they missed out on this particular vital piece of the jigsaw. Are there gaps? And I think that was a key thing. We could identify gaps, even though it may not be a sexy team, so on and so forth, but it's a vital thing to do. Yeah, so we wanted to do that. Are there opportunities to improve? Maybe people are doing things, maybe we have done things up to this point, but can we improve on it? Can we do something to push it to the next level? That was the question we asked ourselves. So we were trying to identify recommendations based on that. And future threats. A lot of time when people come up with strategies and such, these are very short-term strategies, 2-3 year strategies. Why? Because your community is there for 2-3 years. People are there for 2-3 years. Your vision is a 2-3 year vision. Yeah? But what this convention provided us, because it was a 10-year time frame, we had to come out and say, what is the strategy? Could we identify some strategies which could actually predict or at least forecast future threats and try and work from now onward before that threat surfaces? Yeah? So these were the things that actually guided our look into the recommendation. And this is important, and I'll tell you why it's important. One is, maybe in the Q&A later I will get some questions on this, but I'll try and preempt the question. Some may ask, why aren't you looking at more current teams, foreign talent coming in, challenging the places of Malay Muslim workers? Yeah? So those are key teams, and I do admit those are major teams now in society. But again, it's a team which everybody is focusing on. It's a team which I think a lot of people are putting resources and effort in. So is it one space that we want to go into and add on to it, and then miss out on something else? Yeah? So we had to ask ourselves that kind of question. So that's why the team we come up with may not be the most sexiest team in town, but we think it's a necessary recommendation. And the second thing is, some recommendations, you have to understand that the recommendations itself, and as Nizam pointed out, we give thought leadership and mobilization and so on and so forth. Yeah? We have the capacity to come up with thought leadership. Yeah? We are a bunch of guys sitting in a room, eating pizza, having coffee for 3 hours, almost every week or every other week. We sit, we think, and we come up with strategies. Okay? Some of the strategies we may not have the capability to bring these strategies all the way to fruition, to market, so to say. Okay? When we can, we will. When we can't, we will work with others. And when we totally cannot work with others, we will help others do it. Okay? So that's what we also look to do. Yeah? So if you say a strategy, you may question, so how are you going to do this? Well, I may come and answer, we are not doing it. We think it's important enough. We provided top leadership. We will get other people to do it. Yeah? And one of our recommendations actually goes to that effect. So basically, from that network approach that I presented just one slide before, we have those four components, what we said of, we have these four interactive components, they interact with one another, income, expenditure, assets, liabilities. Where can we find recommendations which will help quantify, which will help identify opportunities for future trends? So one of our recommendations, and you will see later, actually speaks about liabilities. One of our recommendations actually speaks about income, and one of our recommendations actually speaks about the whole concept itself, but the whole concept applied to a certain segment of the Malay Muslim community. Okay, and those obviously is the ITE or the non-tertiary students, and I'll explain further. So basically, by using this network approach, we are not saying, we are saying that the present measure of the community's program, or lack of it, do not provide it with a holistic approach. Do not provide it with a holistic picture. Okay? For example, the focus is because it can't. Logically speaking, when you just talk about income and assets and you don't look at expenditure and liability, when you talk about net worth, you cannot have a net worth picture without the other side of the coin. Impossible. Full stop. Okay? But again, we are not challenging the gains or the success that we've made over the years in terms of income, in terms of whatever we see. It's just that we are trying to say that, hey, when we look at income, it could be two ways. Our Muslim household income has increased. But what if we're spending more than whatever that we earn? Correct? So then, how do you look at it? But we do not have that other side of the picture to tell us the answer to that. Again, the flip side is we own less assets than other communities. We don't own Muslim community doesn't stay in a large proportion compared to the Chinese, for example, in condominiums, or don't own a lot of assets vis-a-vis other communities. But if we found out that they actually own the Muslim community, own assets but are not highly leveraged, they pay off. I've seen a lot of families, Muslim families, who have HDB flats and it's fully paid off. When you ask them why, they say because my religion tells me if I have a loan, I should pay it off. So if we can identify that, then does owning smaller HDB flats constitute a lag behind other communities? In my view, no. Because those are assets which you have fully paid off. Versus another one which you can buy a 5-room flat or whatever, but you still have, God knows when you're going to pay off the loan. So you could raise positive and negative connotations from the current successes or lack of it that we have. The problem is we don't really know, is it a real success? Is it not a real success? Because we don't really know the other side of the equation. So in order to get the true impression of progress, are we really progressing? Are we really earning so much that we're not spending, so we're saving? Are we really holding on to assets which have been fully paid? All these things, we can only answer if we know the true network of the community. And that involves looking at assets and liabilities and the interaction between the two. And trust me, we need to know it now before it's too late, because the Europeans knew it too late, the American consumer knew it too late, and we knew it too late back in 1998. Yeah? So we cannot wait until it's too late for us to know. I've read a Bloomberg report about the Spaniards or the Spanish. A few years ago, nearly every household had 4-wheel drive, they had this Porsche Cheyenne and stuff like that. They were really good. Times were really good. But look where they are now. Unemployment is so high, so forth, because they identified it, things were not being done, and look where they are. So I think we need to really sit down and constructively question our present successes, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah? Are we earning more but spending more. Yeah? We need to find answers to present problems. Why is it that we earn more and yet there are issues which we still face? Nizam pointed out, our kids are not doing well in school. Is it because that while we earn more of this money is going out somewhere? Interest payments, for example. Yeah? And therefore we do not have enough for our children. Because most of our money goes out, we therefore have to take a second job. Therefore we have to for our children. So these are things that we have to ask ourselves. And I'll just quickly highlight to you an example and a few cases. The average, or I won't say the average, but a few cases that we've seen, okay, particular individual income is about 2,000, but it qualifies him for a credit card. His take home, sorry, you can't see it, I'm trying to write the figure. Take home salary is 2,000. When you get one credit card, you just won't stop at one. Basically, you get about 5 or 6 credit cards. Credit cards give you about 2 times the monthly salary. So that's one credit card. So can you imagine the second one, the third one, the fourth one? Basically, you will have about 30,000 fixed credit cards. 6 times 5, 30,000 worth of debt. Okay. You say roughly your monthly minimum repayment for a credit card is 3%. Okay. That, yeah, that's about 3%. So that's about $900. Just to pay off your minimum balance. And guess what? Families are in this situation. Many families are in this situation. They pay 900. They take home 2,000. That's half of their income going to paying off minimum balances, and that's assuming that they don't miss on payments and pay late payments and so on and so forth. So the situation is this: are we now in a situation where the fact that we have higher income, but because we haven't looked at the liability side very closely, that there's this leakage that's going up, and that leakage has social implications. Okay? That's a question which this whole net worth concept throws in our mind. These kind of questions. So basically, our strategy was we need to strengthen the community's financial architecture. We need to promote this holistic view of the community's economic spending using the net. Not only do we need to use it, we need to get the community to understand and look at it from that perspective. Not just say that I've got a kid in university, I've done my part. No, it doesn't work that way. Yeah? You need to really look at your own self holistically and not benchmark it against one side of the value chain. This hopefully would also promote or at least create a paradigm shift in the thinking of our leaders, for example. To not just benchmark our success based on, again, income, assets, and so forth, but to benchmark our success based on a network approach. Is our community a positive network community? How do we then ensure we be pouring resources on the asset and income side? Should we now pour resources into the liability and expenditure side to make sure that this one actually is controlled so that we end up with a positive net worth community? So these are the questions we have to ask. So the strategy that we came up with, all to strengthen these key areas within the community's overall financial architecture. And this is very critical because you and I know we have been facing crisis after crisis after crisis. 97, 2000, 2008, and even 2008 hasn't finished. We've got now 2009, so on. So there will be always external shocks and internal shocks from the foreign talent, so on, hitting the Malay Muslim community. Okay? And we cannot run away from that. And Nizam mentioned about the Gini coefficient, Singapore being the country with the second highest after Hong Kong. It's been proven through studies, academic studies, that while you lift people out of poverty, up the poverty level and stuff like that, it's happening in Indonesia. Once a shock comes, more people fall below it. Okay? And I can tell you that in order to survive shocks, you have to have a positive network. Okay? Simple. I owe the bank so much money. You know, comes a shock, I lose my job. If I owe the bank, I'm going to default. But if my net worth is positive, yeah, my leverage is low, my liabilities are low, come a shock, I lose my job, I still have savings, I'm fine. Okay? So the concept of having a positive net worth will in fact fortify families and help them, yeah, when it comes to engaging, or at least when it comes to receiving these flows. And we have a very large youth base. Okay? I'll show you the demographic chart later, but of our community, the Malay Muslim community, 48% are 30 years and below. Huge amount of youth in our community. Every time a family goes into crisis, average 4 children go into crisis. That's my way of looking at it. Because on average we have our families are like 3 to 5 children. So every time one family goes in, and especially the low income, you know, low income families are big. Every time one low income family goes into crisis, or this gets dragged down, after he gets a shock, he brings down 4 or even 5 children at the same time. Okay? So it is especially critical, we feel, that we need to fortify the families in order to secure our youth base. And I'll repeat this over and over again, our youth today are our future tomorrow. Because we have such a big youth base, in about 10, 20 years time, this is going to be the middle class of the Malay Muslim community. This can be an asset, or this could be a liability to us. Okay? And there is really a need to ensure that we truly become a net asset generating community to secure our future. We've heard before themes, people coining themes of we need to be an asset accumulating community, we need to be an asset generating community, we need to be an asset producing community. But my question is, do we really know what's the meaning of being a true asset accumulating community? It's not just merely, I have more cars, I have a bigger house. Those are gross assets. We need net assets to prove that we are really an asset generating community. What use is it if we have more cars, but as you know, cars depreciate and we have more liabilities than assets? It doesn't make sense. Huh? It only makes sense if we look at net. Okay? And let me, this is in the book, in our convention book. I just want to show you, to put some figures to make you understand a little bit more, especially those who may not have the accounting background. So this is the concept of net worth. Let me just concentrate on the deficit side. Let's assume income minus expenditure, the community as a whole, okay, is minus 100,000. How I came up with the figure? Well, actually, I feel like I came up with the figure, didn't really have any. I just plucked the figure, but then after looking at it a few times, I said maybe we could actually rationalize it. We have 500,000 Muslims in Singapore. Okay? Let's assume, and we have about 5 per family, 5 pets per family. Okay? So we have about 100,000 families, households. Okay? Right? Okay. Let's assume that every household, when they do their monthly budgeting, income minus expenditure, every one of them, every one of them has a deficit of $1. If you earn 2,000, you're spending 2,000 and $1. So 1,000 families, negative 1,000 for the community as a whole. Let's just put it very simply. The figures are not that important, the concept is important. What does that mean? What does this negative 100,000 mean? It means that every month, assuming we look at a monthly figure, our community's assets depreciate or go down by 100,000. Because we just cannot spend more and then the utang or the debt just goes away. It doesn't go away. You have to finance that debt. And you have to go into your savings and pay that debt. And who knows that saving was supposed to be meant for your children. So again, every month we're losing, this is an example. I don't have the exact figure. If this is the case, it's 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. Okay? If they come to a point where we have run out of assets, theoretically speaking, no more savings to dig into, no more whatever Singtel shares that we get to sell and so on and so forth, we start borrowing. You can't pay, you need to finance it. You have to do it somehow or another. If you cannot use your assets, you just you owe people. You stop paying credit card bills, you stop paying the PUB bills, and so on and so forth. And this weakens the community from a network perspective. Again, higher leverage, come a shock, easier to fall into crisis. Okay? And eventually, when these interact in assets and liabilities, we could eventually be a community of a negative network community, which those who study economics and accountancy know that this means technically bankrupt. Even today, I don't know where we stand, and I'm being just honest. And I think no one knows because we don't have the data. Okay? But this is just one side of the scenario. The other side of it is, if on the other hand, every family saves or has an additional, even say has an additional $1 after income minus expenditure, we are paying off. We have money to pay off our debts. The community has money to pay off its liabilities. And after paying off the liabilities, the community's assets, and this money doesn't go to pay this, it starts going into investments and other things, savings and stuff. And we can start saving for our children. Yeah? So again, this eventually will become a community of network positive. And this is very important because, you know, not only, and this is not this is important, but at the same time, this is achievable. Okay? And I'll tell you why. I'm quite confident it's achievable. Because if you look at this income, expenditure, assets, liabilities, we are a community of Muslims. And if you look into the religious aspect of it, what does Islam say about income? Encourages us to work, do our best, halal sources, yeah? Share our income through the mechanisms of zakat, wakaf, sedekah. Yeah? Expenditure. Our religion says, don't spend excessively. Yeah? Don't go to the extreme, and don't go to the extreme, be a miser at the same time. Yeah? Spend moderately. So there are automatic stabilizers from the religious aspect if you study economics. Yeah? Assets. Always don't hoard your assets. Plow back your assets in the community. Yeah? So liabilities. Islam says you are not encouraged or even not allowed. Some people say not even allowed to get loans or liabilities which are non what do you call essential. Our Prophet himself borrowed money before, yeah, by giving away or his baju besi or armor because he needed money for food. But outside of necessities, Islam discourages people from taking on. So the religious stabilizers there tells you that this by right should be a long-term a conclusion for the community. Okay? So I'm pretty confident if the effort now comes in from the point of view of educating, telling the community what's right, then there's that natural religious aspect. Yeah, I think while we may not be able to catch up with other communities from the perspective of economic figures like education attainment, maths, or whatever the case is, I think we could potentially be a net positive community much faster than any other community in Singapore. That's my own feeling. That's my own feeling. I mean, this is achievable much faster than some of the other goals we probably set ourselves. So our first recommendation is actually that of creating a one-stop advisory center. Okay? Because we feel that this is something which has been under the radar for a long, long time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the silent answer. Because we don't have data, we don't have figures. Anecdotally, we have to work on the ground to hear the stories. The social workers hear the story. The financial advisors who work with these families hear the stories. And I think when you ask these people, they can tell you that it's a serious problem. Yeah? Today, currently, if you are an individual with a debt problem, you basically are groping in the dark. Because you will then go credit counseling. You go to credit counseling, you think that you're going to get help there. You sit through the 2-hour compulsory talk and such, only to find out that credit counseling doesn't give you money lenders, illegal or illegal money lenders. So then you are then advised to go somewhere else to seek help. You try to I mean, let me tell you honestly, people in our community, when they have a debt problem, they think of two things. One is to borrow more, and two is to sell their house. That's been the common solutions. But there's actually a whole list of solutions. I'm sorry, it's very small, but it's on page 134 of the book. You can't see this, it's on page 134. There is actually a full set of solutions before you reach those drastic solutions that you take. You can easily write, if your debt is to a single bank. I'll show you an example to make things very easy to understand. There's this lady who received a writ of summons from a particular bank, telling her that we're going to take you to court, we're going to make you bankrupt. She's working in NTUC FairPrice as a cashier. She's worked her way up over the past 1 years. Her child, and this is the actual story, the child is in a neighborhood school and he got second in class. So pretty bright boy, single mother. Yeah? But here she is being produced a letter to appear in court, and she said, and the prognosis was, if you appear in court and you become a bankrupt, you're going to lose your job because you're handling money. If you're bankrupt, you can't handle money. Okay? So what we did was, we wrote to the bank, and it's a finance company. And because of credit to them, I'll just mention their name is Hong Leong Finance. We wrote to Hong Leong Finance. We said, look, please don't make this lady a bankrupt. She's done very well in her work. Her kid is very smart. Give her a chance. Let's work together to make it a win-win situation. You don't make her bankrupt. She promises to pay you $50 a month. It's less than what you required initially. But please give her a chance. And if her condition improves next year and the year after, we'll increase the repayment amount. And guess what? Bank comes back and say, okay, fine, no problem. So, from a situation whereby she was saying to us, I was just waiting for the day to lose my job. Now she's happily working, kid is doing well in school, and the problem is theoretically solved. Okay? So things simple as that. Can you imagine the number of people who don't do that, sit home and wait for the bankruptcy petition to come? How many of them? We don't know. We don't know. Okay? Assistance from the credit counseling. Many people go to credit counseling for assistance. Yeah? But at the same time, some of them get disappointed because they don't cover money lending debt. And credit counseling has its own criteria. Not everybody who walks through the door are accepted straight away. Because one, they look at the income, they look at expenditure, what is the balance? Say, every month you have a balance of minus 400. I'm not going to take you on because I'm going to take you and negotiate with the bank. If you have a minus 400, I'm just wasting my time. So people who have huge minus balances every month will not qualify for credit counseling. Again, left in the dark. What do they do? Okay. So these are the things. Sale of asset, home. Yeah. Person looking to sell his home. There are a few cases, and I think this is very common. Sell a home cannot buy because they get really crap advice from their property agent, who doesn't check whether now that they're older that they can get a loan, now that they earn less that they can get a loan, and end up in District 10, TNT, District 10, yeah, over at East Coast. Yeah. So again, there was in fact one particular case where we channeled this particular guy looking for second opinion. His first opinion from his property agent was can do. We got an honest property agent to come and look at it. Cannot do. Why? Because agents are motivated for the fact that you sell, you get a commission. So you have to have a system in place whereby you have really honest people looking at it objectively. Yeah? Not from the point of view, I'm going to sell, I make money and so on and so forth. Yeah? And some of them come to us and say, I've got a money lender loan. And I'll show you later, money lender loans are 20% per month. per month. Okay? It says, I need to sell my house because I need to pay back my money lenders. And you all know that the process of selling a home is not quick. You at least take about 2, 3, 4, 5 months to be on average 5 months. Then 3 months for the documentation, maybe 1, 2 months to sell. So we said to him, look, if you want to sell your house, fine, but guess what? Meanwhile, your debt will increase by 100% by the time you sell your house. Because it's 20% a month for 5 months. So don't sell your house. Why don't you rent out your house? He said, yeah, that's true. And what did he do? He went out and stayed with his sister, rented out a house for 2002, and problem kind of solved already. Yeah? Instead of sell my house, get my money in 5 months' time, realize that my money lending debt is now 2 times as big as it was. And then Whatever I pay for my proceeds in my house, I still have no income. So again, these are advice. Sometimes it may be crystal clear to us, but when you are in debt, and I don't know whether some of you have it, you get this debtor's paralysis. You cannot think. And sometimes you need this kind of advice to help wake you up, or at least to help show you the path. Okay? Even simple things like lowering interest rates, renting out rooms and stuff like that. These are sometimes simple advice which I have two people who pay 24% interest when we ask them, hey, what do you do some balance transfer, you get 5% interest and so on and so forth. Okay. Qualifying for a debt repayment scheme, yeah, I think since 2009, if you go to court nowadays, you will not be straight away made a bankrupt. The court will see whether you qualify for a certain scheme or a debt repayment scheme. And bankruptcy, there's so many people out there who do not want to declare bankrupt because they have really weird notions of bankruptcy. Example, if I declare bankrupt, someone can follow me every day to monitor my movements and stuff. People still think of that. Yeah? But bankruptcy is an option. It is an option, and I tell you when it's an option. It is an option in certain cases. One case, 20 money lenders. Guy was hounded left, right, and center by 20 money lenders. Wanted to commit suicide. Didn't know how to, thank God. Okay? Didn't know how to. Came and said, look, I really can't take it. Nervous breakdown, health is deteriorating, relationship with family is deteriorating. Advice was, ask the employer whether they accept bankruptcy to continue working. Guess what? He goes around the major hospitals in Singapore. Yes. It's okay. The employer said, no problem, you're bankrupt. You don't deal with money. You don't have to, you're not licensed by MAS or anybody. You can continue to work. Straight away, self-declared bankrupt. Yeah. 1 month later, bankruptcy letter with a number comes. He photocopies 20 copies of that bankruptcy letter and passes it all to his money lenders. And guess what? Next day they stop calling. Why? Because once you are bankrupt, money lenders or any other creditors must deal with the official signing. They cannot come to your house, they cannot call you. So now he's happy. He's gained back weight again. His relationship with the family is okay. His children are going to school and stuff. But can you imagine if that didn't happen? So again, this kind of advice. This kind of advice is very, very important for people, and especially I worry very much that people tend to take the extreme routes rather than declare bankrupt, which is the due process. Is fine. People tend to run away to Indonesia, Malaysia, and do funny things. Yeah? But this is the due process. So what we intend to do is we intend to take this advisory, put it in the debt advisory center, and say, look, if you have a problem, come to us, we will tell you what we believe are the correct steps to take. We're not sure whether some of these will work, but at least first you don't waste time, and two, you get the correct advice. Okay? So we will try and bring in our potential partners, Institute of Estate Agents. You know, people like you have people do legal aid. Yeah, even here, legal aid. Maybe the estate agents can come with a legal whatever they call it. Get some of their agents honest good agents to volunteer their time to help us. Yeah? Credit counseling is an important component. It is one of the components. Yeah? But again, I know maybe some of you before this had question, aren't you duplicating what the credit counselors of Singapore do? No, we're not. We are moving one step first. We are coming in before they come in. You have to channel people correctly, whether they can qualify, whether they ought to be doing. You know, have a money lending debt, you don't know. You have a money lending debt, you have a legal money lending problem. Right now, if you go to the credit counseling website and you scroll down, they will channel you to two organizations. One is called One Hope Center, which is a Christian organization. Another I can't remember. It's a Buddhist organization. You go there for group support. You sit in a group, everybody will tell you what their problems are with respect to money lending, and then you gain confidence from there. Okay, that's what's happening now. And we don't have one which is under the Muslim community. Hopefully, that advisory center can come with a group support in that sense. Okay, Association of Banks. Maybe then they will help us when we write to banks. Maybe the Association of Banks will then help us give more credibility or more support. Yeah. And a host of other things, money lenders and stuff. Even simple things like having IPTO, public trustee office come and even give talks about bankruptcy, so on and so forth. Yeah? So a more learned, a more educated society with respect to managing their debts, I think we will save a lot of money. Okay? And we save a lot of lives potentially. Yes. And educating. Educating individuals to come to us with that. We not only give them a list of what to do and which are the relevant ones, but we tell them, meanwhile, let's not create new debts. We'll teach you. No use trying to pay off this debt and then you create another debt on this section. And we assist, we need assistance, or we want to assist in debt-related issues within the community, especially data collection. It's very difficult. Ask me now, how much debt does the community have? I don't know. Ask me now, how much debt does a certain segment? I actually don't know. I'm sorry, because that's the case. You know, when we have Prof. Chandra Kumar here, I think he would agree with me that these kind of figures sometimes are very difficult to get. Yeah? But maybe this center, with the number of clients here, we can aggregate and then really put our foot on. Is this, some people may question, I still have people questioning me, Sani, are you sure this is a serious problem? I said, I don't know, officially I don't have the data. Anecdotally, I can tell you it's a problem. But people will only listen if you have hard data. So the question now is, this center may aggregate the data and say, yeah, look, we have a problem. Or no, we don't have a problem. No. Okay? And the aim, the overall aim is to reduce the financial leakage. We spoke about the financial leakage here and stuff, but let me just show you some figures with respect to what could be the financial leakage. And this is really just my sense of it. Okay, and it's in the book as well, but I'll just put it down. You know that the cost of borrowing from banks is about 24%. That's the normal cost if you look at the promotion. The cost of borrowing from money lenders and even illegal money lenders is 240% per annum, 20% per month. Okay. It's shocked now, you don't know it, but it is. You late pay, you pay 520 for the money lenders. In there, you stop paying for 1 week, and money lenders debt is paid every week. You're trapped. There's no way you can get out. I assure you, there's no way you can get out. That's why, when you talk about money lending cases, every time you see someone with a money lending problem, he's not only got one money lender, he has 20, 30, very common. Why? Because he borrows on the first week for his own usage and whatever emergency purposes. The second week, he needs money, so he needs to borrow one for his own use and another one to cover the first week. The third week, he needs to borrow one for his own use and not borrow two for the first and second week. And the fourth week, when his salary comes in, everything goes up to pay the money lender and he's back to square one. Yeah? So money lenders with 20, 30, people with 20, 30 money lenders, when you look through the history of when they started with, okay, they're not, we have a misconception that when we see people with 25 lenders today, wow, you must have bought a lot of things with borrowing. No. Okay. So from the community's perspective, let's use back the example I used earlier. With back to this. Let's assume we are a community of 100,000 roughly, yeah, or more. Let's assume that 5 persons per family, that's 100,000 households, right? If we assume 1/10 of this, okay, 10,000 households, each has an average debt of 5,000. That means the community has a debt of 50 million. Is this something far-fetched? In this room itself, or in your group of friends of 10 people, can we assume that out of the 10 people, you know one of them has a debt of 5,000? Logic kind of assumption? I think it's logical. Yeah, I think it's an understatement, in fact, if you ask me. Yeah, but let's assume that out of the 10 people you know, or one of them will have a debt of 5,000. If it's there with the bank, that will actually be a drain on the community of 10 million. Just do the interest calculation, 20%. That means 10 million from the community is absorbed out, is drained out to pay interest. It goes to someone else's pocket, not to the pockets of our children. If we take a bad, not say worse, but a bad case scenario where this 10,000 actually owe millions, and is it far-fetched? I don't have the numbers, I'll put a disclaimer first. But if you think of it, our community is a community of low income to medium income. They go to the bank don't have any money. Who do they turn to? They turn to money lenders. Because they borrow 100, they borrow 1,000, so on and so forth. Okay? Again, I don't have the figures. But again, let's assume 1/10 of these families go to money lenders. Based on an effective interest rate of 240, that's a drain of 150 million from the community every year, which was supposed to go insurance, retirement, medical, so on and so forth. Okay? So again, and that's with the 50 million still intact principle. Okay? So again, we hope that this debt advisory center can eventually lead to an outcome where we prevent such leakages. These figures are not very good, I'll be very honest with you, but the assumptions I've just made, you can agree or disagree with it, or you think it's understatement, overstatement, so on and so forth. But this is the concept. Let's move on from the first recommendation now to the second recommendation. The first recommendation was to fulfill a gap. We had all the a la carte solutions, credit counseling, so on and so forth. And we had the debtors, but we filled a gap in the middle there where the debtors needed the advice to correctly channel them to the various organizations. Now, recommendation 2 is not filling a gap. Okay? Recommendation 2 is a recommendation whereby we now see an opportunity. Back, I think Lisa mentioned, in the previous convention, we came up with the team to facilitate the mass involvement in micro businesses. That was the team. Through that team evolved AMP micro business program. So again, this particular recommendation is looking at, based on that net worth approach, we know that we need to fortify the income of the low income families in order for them to sustain shops, so on and so forth. Okay? What can we do? There are a lot of micro businesses programs going on. That, when we sit around, we say, yes, that's very true. Is there something we can do more? What are the challenges being faced by these micro programs? What have we done in AFP? So when we looked at it, actually we're pretty successful, and I'll show you the numbers. But we realized that the challenge, I think, not only in our case, but we presume in many other cases on the other welfare organization, was to scale up. How do you then take this, what we've done with the 100 families or so, and move it to the next step where it actually makes a difference for the community? And it always has got to do with funding. We've always depended on zakat, grants from the government, so forth. Maybe there's a mechanism whereby we can use other things and such. Yeah? So that's one thing that we are looking at. And I'll show you why we were very encouraged with respect to our own micro business. The beneficiaries from the micro business since December 2011 was 351 families. Okay? The approximate expenses that we spent for project, manpower, grants, so on and so forth, was about 350,000. So on an average basis, each family we spend about, let's say, $997 or even $1,000 for each family. And guess what? And this is verifiable because we ran the program. Okay? For each of these families who attended, their income increased by about 40%. And an average increase of income is roughly about, because their family income is about 1,000, so now you get 40%, 1,004. So monthly, so per annum they get an increase of 4,008. So guess what? We put in $1,000, and now this family is able to generate $400 every month perpetually as long as the business continues. You ask any businessman, and me as a shout to say, this is a great ROI, return of investment. You put in 1,000, you secure the family with 400 return perpetually. Okay? The question now is, can we increase this? And of course, you want to increase it, you have to increase the second line. Is there a way we can get more funding? And that is the challenge which we put upon ourselves, to try and come up with ways, especially the economic panel we've got. Me, Satya, we are finance, trade, economists. So this is a challenge, and even so, challenge to us something. Challenge, can we now come up with a way to increase this amount so that we can benefit more people? If we can break through that barrier, we can then export this knowledge to other microfinance businesses or projects or schemes in other welfare organizations. But that's a challenge we put upon ourselves to come up with that. And our third recommendation, I thought to do, I mentioned earlier with this demographic. The middle is the demographic of the Malay community in Singapore. And as you can see, we have a very large youth base. Okay, the numbers are 48% of the community is less than 30 years old. And you can imagine, in 10 years' time, this will be the middle class community. So, my view, if I were to look in 10 years' time, my statement would be, this is our make or break, my own personal view, for the community, because this is an opportunity or this could be a trap. Okay? So the question now is, what is this vouch made up of? Yeah. What is this? The statistics is this. Out of 100% or 100 students from primary 1 cohort, Malay students go to primary 1, 1/3 will move on to your secondary school. Poly, 2/3 will stay behind either as secondary school leavers or as ITE. Out of that 2/3 will stay behind, 45% is ITE. Again, the numbers is 100 Malay students going into P1, 45 of them will be ITE graduates, or at least gone through ITE. 45%. Okay, or 45 of them. Okay? And 20 of them will be secondary school leavers, and the rest of them will go on to the tertiary. So 45 out of 100 is a large number. We are not saying we want to see that 45 go to university. Let's face the facts. We cannot, although we want to, we can try to, but the fact of the matter is not everybody will have the capability to go to A-levels, poly, or university. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that this cohort here, this IT will become the best that it can be in 10 years' time. How do we do that? As I mentioned, try and channel them to the correct courses, try and motivate them, try and find out what is it that makes an IT student tick. Okay? I don't think I've got members from IT, right? Okay? So admittedly, we can't come up and say we want to deal with the problem because we are not from IT. Almost all of us are graduates and stuff in the panel. So this is a case where I mentioned earlier, certain strategies or certain recommendations we cannot carry forward. We think it's important. I think everybody will agree with us that this is the future of our community. It is very important. We don't know how to deal with it in a real sense. So what do? We bring in external help. And what is this external help? We will probably provide the secretarial support, we'll probably provide the platform, bring together a group of IT graduates, even potentially students and let them think of what are the recommendations, what are the solutions, what is needed to bring this group. We can give them the broad brush. We think that we need to get more people into sectors of the economy. So let's try and do programs to bring IT students to consider not only all these other things that we're going to, but certain sectors which are more important. Yeah. We need to do career guidance, this and that. But we need we need to bring together this group of graduates and even non-graduates of IT to tell us what to do. Or we help them implement what they think is the best thing to do. We provide some thought leadership, they provide the background, even more knowledge. So in this case, we will create or we will recommend the creation of an IT-centric platform for successful IT graduates to provide leadership, formulate programs, and to act as role models. Have we identified anything? A few names have crossed our minds and so on and so forth, but we've not asked them, so we won't review anything. And we won't, put their names in the head at this particular point. But this is what we want to do. The macro picture is this. Because we feel it's just absolutely important to get this right. Okay. So anyway, I've actually come to the end of all the recommendations and strategy. I will probably have to take a kind of a straw poll, a show of hands into how do you think what do you think of the three recommendations, supportive or non-supportive. It's a very simple one that we want to take off. So for now, I'll just open up the floor for any
Kumar. I'm a retired professor. We're going to ideate to use the so-called demographic dividend of the youth. They already mentioned elsewhere as well, demographic studies. Because Malays are the youngest population of the world. If you don't use this, you miss the opportunity. Because the time to come in the next 10, 15 years, they also start aging because the fertility is going down. So I think it's a very timely move. 2, years ago I did a survey for Andalki where there was a great potential of the small saver. I'm not talking about big savers. Small savers, very, very small savers. Because very poor community can't expect them to save much.
Yeah.
There was great potential, even if you took an average figure, I mentioned how much I forgot. I recommended to them to harness that and try to create a sort of a group to stake a fund, sometimes set up like whatever you call it, and then create a kind of a potential for finance. The other thing is, yes, approaching IT graduates is fine, provided the IT graduates. But the question is, there is a big dropout of people going into the IT, Malays or Indians for that matter. Indians have the same problem, not that they haven't got a problem. So, in the first instance, you ensure that you go and finish the IT course.
Exactly.
Once you finish, your potential is there because the motivation is there. So I think that has to be taken care of.
I think the first 2 was answered it very well. The third one, yes, our focus is not only on the graduates, but actually the IT cohort itself, to ensure, like you mentioned, that they stay in. And that's why when I said the so-called platform, hopefully we get graduates and the non-graduates or people who haven't graduated even. Tell us what are the problems in there. You have the correct role models.
Can AFP look at a mechanism by which you can harness the small civics?
Also can, yeah.
No, that will help you. That,
yeah, definitely.
Micro.
Yeah. The micro business projects, when it reaches the second phase, or I can envisage a point whereby we start to try and get the surplus units within the community to invest back in the community's deficit units. Because what we have today is the surplus units in the community investing God knows where. Your get-rich schemes, or this and that, which totally has no benefit to the community. Yeah? Well, so these kind of things, but that will be the second phase, but it is something which will, it's on the back of our minds. Yes, please.
My name is Hamid. I am the Assistant Secretary General of Jamia and also a program director for human resource.
Speak on. Okay.
Now, firstly, I think we support. I think this is a very good initiative of ANP. I think I want to commend ANP for thinking through for the community the problems, and I think the paper presented by Kevin was also good. Now, I just want to share some thoughts here.
Please.
So all these 3 strategies, of course, I think is to the approach. Just a little bit coming on the aspects of okay. See, you might wonder, Jamia, how come in this workshop we're supposed to be with this organization, but actually we see the importance of business. Because in Islam, there's a proposition, more than 90% of rizki is from business. So if you work very hard, you work for someone, you only get 10%. So the 90%, I think we underexploited, even underrepresented. So first point that we want to emphasize. Secondly, that if you look at business, it's actually giving us the power. Look at all the countries, whether Indonesia, Malaysia, even the developing countries. If you are in control of business, means you are in control of anything. So that's the other point. Now we feel that we should not fully capitalize our strength. First, our strength of the community is in our hands, right? Skill. So we have a lot of skill, and I think if we fully exploit the skill that we have, I think we can go further, and I think we can develop. So therefore, I think when we have this, we have to have a multi-prong. While helping those those people are caught in that problem. But we should also develop those people, those members of our community with that level, so that they can go beyond. Okay? So the hands, we're talking about, for example, there are craftsmen. There are things like design, architecture, animation. There's such thing as culinary even. So I think we should perhaps look at that. Develop the potential for our community in those areas, and then of course business means bring money to the community, and when we have more income for the community, we tackle we can help the others.
Yes.
As well. The other thing is the other age, and heart, our heart. I think we have that element. Now there is a huge industry in the hospitality, for example, the service industry. So why don't create a brand for ourselves? We can sell them. For example, SIA were to look for some people who can help them in improving their business. They come to the Malay community, they say, can you share? Because we inherit that, see? So why don't we exploit that? Now, the other thing is that, of course, you see like the grey society is an industry. This is also an industry.
Right.
So the health.
Yeah.
Actually, the health, all these good things not become negative to us. Actually, we were the ones that have got the premier health, because those days, we wake up very early and we still go early, and we already gone to the sea, right, toilet and so on. So how can we bring back that one? And then in this field, we have the TCM. We don't have a version of our TCM, things like that. So we can develop that.
One thing comes to mind. No, I agree, yes.
We have, but they're not growing.
Correct, I understand.
And then the other thing, for example, but whatever we say, we should develop our own branding. Because now the branding seems to be more like, negative, and we are just always having problems. But why can't we turn it over? See, we can learn from the Chinese community, for example. Of course, we must not be too much upset by that, but that's something we can learn. The good aspect when we say now area is my other party. But for the Chinese now, what their wishes is always everything is looked at from economic from good and bad.
Understood.
Okay, the other thing is just to close.
Yes.
But I think we should look at ourselves as having the property of water. Right? Property of water, meaning that no matter how you put a stone in front of the water has a way to go about it. Like if he wants to go there, he will arrive at the destination. But the water also has a cooling effect. That's not something was a gift to others, but cooling effect. And also, I think it's useful to others. So if we can adopt this, that's my humble opinion. We share this philosophy, coupled with that, I think we could make some quantum change.
Thank you. I think thank you very much. Our micro business has what we call a spillover effect, because most of the time for some of these families in Kawasan is here, maybe the husband is working, but the wife used to be staying at home doing nothing. Now she's involved in micro business, so we have just we so-called increased the women participation rate in the labor force in that sense by having this micro business. So it does have the effect. On your branding, my own personal view is, and this is really personal view, it's the individuals. We have to go back to being good Muslims individually, and automatically the branding for the whole community will be there. From the economic perspective, when my wife works as a headhunter, a lot of employees do not want to consider sometimes a Malay candidate. When you ask them why, because I had very bad experience. They come late or they do this, they're not productive, and so on. So the individual themselves, they do not realize that they create this negativity, which then impacts on other individuals who may jolly well be very good individuals. So the individuals, to me, my motto is everybody has to go back and be the best they can be as a Muslim and as a resident. And then the community will be, inshallah, be the best. So, anyway, we have three. I'll book the three first. Okay.
First point.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. My name is Hossein Wahabi. condenser photo repair shop. I have 2 shops now after 4 years.
No, very successful individual.
I just want to share with you. Number one, I think there is this point that you mentioned, that advisory center. I think it is like a negative connotation. But no, if it's agreeable, if you put the net worth would be a better term to use. But anyway, that's my suggestion. Okay? Because I don't want you to be affecting the community. You're going to a debtors advisory center problem. That is only a comment. And number one, I think I agree. In fact, I have realized the ITE cohort of 45%. That's the reason why I'm working with ITE now, trying to train all the ITE students. Excellent, right? Because they are the young generation in the auto industry. In fact, I have 12 employees now working for me and giving a very good return, very good returns, very good.
Now, I may just add here before we lose that point. This was something we discussed in the panel because we needed good internships for the IT because skill is very important, and they were not getting that particular skill. When they came out, that will give them an additional boost with respect to getting employment. So you get your name, we'll try and incorporate you in our program.
In fact, I am in that direction right now. Before even this thing came about, I didn't even know. The MP was talking and discussing about this matter. Because I'm working with ITE now. They have actually in principle giving a principal approval to start an approved training center. All right? And they are willing to provide me with a lecturer. I will provide with a practical session. And I have a shop big enough to accommodate 20 to 40 people. So that's the direction. And to your point, again, this is my experience also. Sorry to say this negative thing, but we should use this as an opportunity. I have sometimes recruit our kind of people, and they lasted 3 months, 6 months with qualified ITE graduated from a motor vehicle industry. And many of them will go into retail instead of actually going to the mechanic. I'm paying something like $1,500 a month, starting pay, without much knowledge. And we are prepared to train them up. And yet they still go for an easy job. So to your point again, the MP can help. I think they develop the attitude, the hardworkingness. Now I have in fact spoken to ITE, which the ITE was very surprised. In fact, ITE has a problem of getting even students to join the motor vehicle industry. Now, for simple reason is that they don't want to be mechanic for the next 40 years, right? And with that problem, I have in fact added a module called supervisory and management module, which I tell them, look, you can become a supervisor, you can become a manager in the long run. If you are good, you got to be good. And on top of that, I've added some more again. I'm willing to even franchise to become entrepreneurs. So I have another module in MIAN, they have an entrepreneur course that will encourage these people to look forward when they start day one. They know that they can become supervisory manager. They can also become an entrepreneur.
This is exactly our career guidance, what we need. We need people to come and give them a path to show, tell them where you can go on and move on to that.
Let me add to that because it's very interesting. The opportunity is so abundant. Let me tell you, I have a problem right now with the MOM because I couldn't get a quota. Because I don't have enough Singaporean employees to get the foreign employees who are more capable with all the experts. So I have this problem. So if I can train the Singaporean, I just recruited another 2. And I think these 2 are quite good. And one, I gave him a warning letter. I tell you better change. So eventually he changed. He changed. He became just as good. So I got 2 very good young. You're talking about the 20, 21, right? And just to give more encouragement, because this is very important. I'll tell you why. Because if you look all the workshops in Singapore, many of them are Malaysians. They don't have certificates. And they're earning $2,000 to $3,000 salary every month. And I tell you, the Singaporeans shun away from this job. And the opportunity for Singaporeans is plenty. I think easily about 500 to 600 at the moment. That's what I want to share.
Excellent,
very encouraging
opportunity. If we can get the second.
Hi, everyone. My name is, keep it short, my name is Faisal. I'm pretty young, I'm below 30, one of the young. So I used to work in HSBC for 3 years in private banking. So now I'm working for I'm on the board of directors of a Finnish finance technology company, startup. Just to touch a bit on just the issues that you have. So previously I was working on the unsecured lending platform, so I know what's happening. But I think on the second point of micro business development fund, because I'm also in the entrepreneurship side of starting up and hiring people and getting funding, I think a certain center for private equity or for the Muslim businesses should be good. Attracting private equity or seed investment from Malaysia, Indonesia, because they have bigger population. In, I would say, like Muslim-centric industries, could be halal export, Islamic banking. A lot of our Muslim individuals are working in shipping and logistics, so looking at that in particular for, I don't know how the AMP can help with that, looking at private equity with maybe some of the rich Muslims in Singapore.
There have been efforts throughout the years in this.
But a centralized institute like Spring, would help.
Yes, in fact, SMCCI itself would be a conduit to bring Spring together with some of these seeds. Seed capital and so on and so forth. I mean, that's one thing that we also want to look at.
And I think just touch on the maximizing the potential of tertiary educated youths. Again, like as my previous has spoken, I have problems hiring as well for skills. The first problem I have is that I would like to try to hire Singaporeans, but when I look at the IT, the resumes, there's a big problem there in the resumes already. That's my first impression. The English is not proper. The way it's written, I don't know what they're supposed to teaching about resume building. Or just basic. Even, and the second thing is also just basic telephone and how you look.
This is one
how you comb your hair, how you dress up for interview.
This is one thing that was brought up also in the community. So Hamid, I think, runs all these soft skills.
It's just extra
lacking. That's lacking with a lot of our kids.
So I just have to bring this to up, and I hope that we can look more into these soft skills of the IT and
it was discussed.
And to add also, I think the polytechnic people have a bigger problem than IT students. I feel because the IT students have skills, they have hard skills, they can adapt. But the polytechnic students are a hybrid of, I mean, they have to think and they have some skills. They're not in JC, they're not uni, but they're in polytechnic. And I have a lot of polytechnic friends who have studied a certain subject, but they're not doing what they're doing at all, and they're earning much less, especially in digital media or technology. So that's just what I from a younger point of view.
Okay, just want to touch on these 3 points. I think, sorry, my name is Haikal Abdul Majid. I work in a private equity firm.
There you have it.
Yes. I just want to touch on these 3 things. I think the first one version of that advisory is a good idea. The issue is for you to, how you could market it. You need to make sure that these guys, they don't even retire. I mean, you need to know how you're going to get close to them. So dissemination of information that you have created is something is important, right?
Just touch on that point before you move on. There would be a natural flow from the existing Muslim welfare organizations, because a lot of social workers come in contact with these families, and social workers sometimes do not have the necessary level of competency to deal with these families. So it could be a referral. That's one way of letting the clients know.
Okay. Second point, I wouldn't touch much. I think you have done a good job there in increasing. Just that you need a pool of money to invest in asset management. Now, most important, I think, is the third part. I think we have some issues there because, firstly, you mentioned that it's not possible to have degree holders in the family, but I tend to disagree.
Not possible.
Well, you're saying that it's hopeful to have every family to have
the education panel is one of the recommendations to have a degree holder, a graduate in every family.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Here we are saying that while that is our aspiration, we have to be practical to say that the majority will still remain
but
secondary.
It's my hope to fall. And it's doable actually, because as an example, I came from a family of 7. 6 of us are UC graduates. For example, the last one, my dad passed away much earlier. The last one had funding issues because all of us had work. My dad had spent money on the rest of us. But it's important that I think as a family unit that the elder brothers help, or the elder sister help the youngest one, which is what me and my family did. He was from Poly, and I told him, I said, look, I don't need to work, I want to continue to finish my degree. I said, where can I go? And I advised him, look, the good thing about Singapore is your diplomas from the policy are so strong,
Yeah.
they only need 1 year for you to go overseas.
Right.
Now, how much is the funding? About 20,000. I mean, people
Funding
will balk at
is-
it. There's help at the banks, and I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, why should I borrow money for my kid?
Yeah.
I think we should not fear about it.
Like
If you can borrow money for your
the
HDB
scheme, yeah.
or your car for 10 years, 20,000 for your kid is, or your brother or your sister, it should not be a problem. So that's what we did from RHB. Guarantors, 3 of us,
Yep.
me, my brother, and another sister.
Yeah.
And my younger brother went to Australia, came back, got a degree, got a job, now he's an assistant vice president. Now this opportunity would be lost if he had decided that, okay, I got my diploma, I just going to work.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you work after your school, you tend not to go back to school. So I think apart from the IT guys,
Yes.
like our friend,
Yeah.
the gentleman said in front, the diploma guys also, I've heard there's just recently I was eating and ended up eavesdropping the next table that's talking to this young man and I think the mother. And the mother was telling him, your cousin, you know, she told the aunt that she don't do a degree, she just finished diploma. I didn't want to interject.
Yeah, but one figure that we've learned, which I do not have the actual figures itself, is that one of the encouraging figures that we have within the community is actually our poly students, a lot of them are moving to graduates, to degrees, going to university.
Right.
Yeah. So within that, I don't know the exact figures, but we were told that.
Yeah, I think there should be some research on that.
Yeah.
Now, the third important thing, just on this position, or the third part is, I think our community need career guidance.
Yes.
Because
Which is exactly what we
the competition is
Right.
all on
Okay.
getting A's in PSLE, O-level, A-level. But what do these guys end up after that? I think the one competition is actually in the career
Career
life of that person.
Yes.
Now, we only do our studies in all the way until what, 23? But there's another 40 years of working life, right? So I think the competition is there. Now, I see Mendaki bought winners that the Mendaki had.
Yeah.
Have you tracked what these guys are doing right now? Are they shakers and movers in the industry?
Oh, yeah.
The Mendaki award winners.
The award winners.
Yeah. I think we have one here. Andy used to be a Mendaki. Really?
That answers your question.
We have one here.
Yeah.
But we need to track what are those guys doing right now?
This particular recommendation actually also answers to that example. Mendaki's graduate tea party or tea ceremony or whatever you call it,
Right.
caters to graduates.
Okay. Right.
And
the
maybe
other
one
thing
that caters to the IT students. And the basic feeling you get is the IT student has very low self-esteem. They've been neglected, so to say. So we're trying to give them confidence and tell them that you are actually a very important component of the community.
Now, the part on the career guidance, I think it's important for a lot of people to know what's out there in the market. In the banking sector, probably people think just the private bankers at the top line, but actually in the dealing room, you got the traders, and these guys are the ones that's earning 4 or 5 times.
I agree.
So I think when I was doing fixed income trading,
Yeah.
I was the only Malay guy that's doing it. There's nobody else, and I think we need to bring a lot of these guys from SMU, MBA, business program.
I agree.
We need to get them in the dealing room, and there's lacking of them right now.
Okay, I'm mindful of time. Let's go to this gentleman first. I've noted some of the hands up already.
My name is Ham.
Let's all try and keep it short and then we can briefly.
Yes, the DAC is very admirable.
Yes.
It's something which is needed. Just to update you, the creation of micro business development fund yesterday, MUIS has really given out this to a few micro businesses initiated to help out small.
These are grants, grants or
From Zakat.
No, Zakat. Okay.
So yesterday after Jumu'ah prayers, they already give off via Al-Ansar Mosque.
That's good.
Yeah, so they already started this thing rolling. In regards to the student, in regards to what gentleman has raised, that has already been done by the MOE. You do not go career guidance after school. It is done during school. You decide at Sec 2 what you want to do in your life. It's already done there. When I was in school, I came from ACS, so they have their own career guidance there. There was its own thing. So it's already done there. What we are afraid of is the drop out. I think just now was highlighted.
Yes,
drop out from IT.
yeah.
Now, these are the kids, isn't it? And IT and MOE is also working at actually improving the self-esteem of the IT students.
Right.
Check out, ITE campuses are 10 times better than JCs.
Yes.
Okay, that's a common gripe right now. Okay, I went to a JC. There's no stadium by view. ITE campuses have swimming pools. name it, have it there. They are now being looked at. Are we actually being redundant and focusing to the ITE students, whereas our PMETs, most of them are unemployed, most of them are freelancing, most of them that comes to us because I'm also the admin of Jaringan Muslims Nusantara, and people come to us and tell us that they are unemployed. They have the skills, they can teach English, they have the soft skills, but they are not wanted by the industries. Now, when these people are unemployed, then they will fall under the debt category because they cannot generate the income. Are we addressing the right point here? Are we actually creating an economy to support these people? We are not. I'm even looking at regionalization.
Okay, we can get to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm surprised you're looking at 250 million next door, who is actually, I'm actually based in Jakarta Selatan, you know, they are actually asking us to come over and build the infrastructure. And none of us are actually looking at that. We are having these things like Indonesians are corrupt, Indonesians are this, Indonesians are that. Are you sure they are corrupt now? We are looking at Johor, how Iskandar is developing. Johor is a crime area, cowboy town. Come on, you know, we have to look at what the important part is. We speak Malay, they speak Malay. We have an advantage, but we are not reaping this. I'm looking at this, I'm sitting down just now listening to Nizam. Zero, nobody is regionalization. Mr. from DPBMS is doing into Indonesia. Applaud. You see, we applaud that. But are we doing enough to go in there? You know, and the micro business, there will be a saturation point. How much kuih can we sell a month? If let's say today we generate 300 businesses to sell kuih tart, are we going to generate another 300 next month? To what point? We have 30.1% population here in Singapore. Where is the market? I give a very good example. The Chinese bake shop. I'm just going to give you this. What we should be doing is make them together. Okay? Work into one corporation, go away, go overseas, and start selling your eco overseas. We don't just focus here. Look at what Old Chunky did. They took ours and made it international. What are we doing? Are we just going to stay here in this corner? That's it. This is our food.
To your point, again, if you remember, I said some of our strategies and our recommendations are regionalization. Guess what? We also had it on our list of strategies to look at. But again, we felt that these things are, I think everybody's looking at it. There are a lot of people, SMCCI, looking at it. We don't want to do, I think they are in a better position to spearhead this kind of thing. We would be better positioned to look into some of these gaps, which, for example, the micro businesses, because we had such a good experience with our own program, we felt that we would be better able to create an impact by taking it one step further.
Yes,
we had one
you see, the problem with entrepreneurs like us, we have heard. In fact, one of them is just next door to me. We do not have the funds to expand. I challenge AMP, come up with Wakaf fund when you fund themselves.
Okay.
Serious. You are Muslims. Wakaf fund, give everybody, okay, everybody contribute to that fund, give loans to the entrepreneurs. Hey, I'm finding $5 million right now to fund a project which actually is going to help the community. No one's going to fund it. Why? Well, very good question. Why?
Devil's advocate. It's right. Being a devil's advocate, if you have a good project, it doesn't have to come from community. There are a lot of investors out there, Muslim or non-Muslim, who want to.
On theory, my friend, we have been looking. Trust me.
Yeah, so if a good project will sell itself.
Why can't the community come up and fund it?
Well, it can.
But they couldn't. At this juncture.
Well, at this juncture, again, we are talking about a community which is really not an asset-rich community in a sense. Not a knowledgeable community in a sense, from the perspective of investment. Anyway, want to add related to it, or if it's related, then some could be. Related.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. DPBMS. My name is Rohim. I'm the chairman or president of the Singapore Ministry of Commerce and Industry. I think gentlemen from Jamia, Cik Mano, raised an important point of about business as another form of option for wealth creation. Let me share with you some figures from the Malay business community. At the Chamber of Commerce, we did a survey some years back on the state of our Malay business, and it's found that the majority of the business in Singapore are involved in the F&B and retail trade. These are the two main areas, and the income from these industries are very low. Right? It's about less than 100,000. Right? Very small figures, and they service only the local Muslim community, which is 500,000. So the market is limited to 500,000 population when we have 5 million people in Singapore. So already within the community is only focused on the Malay market, not even the regional market. Gentlemen over there talk about regional market. Of course, we are encouraging the chamber. We encourage our members to go abroad, Indonesia, Malaysia, at least regional first before going to the world market. Compared to the Chinese chamber, I think our business community reflects very much the state of our Malay community in the sense that the numbers, the quality and quantity are very dissimilar. We compare the Chinese chamber, 4,000, Indian chamber, we have 400 members, Indian chamber we have 1,000 members, but they have more bigger players in the various industries. Right? So I encourage my friends just talk about technology, talk about young entrepreneurs. We encourage young entrepreneurs to join and create another level. Don't focus on F&B, don't focus on retail. I mean, second industries, we can continue, but focus on other emerging industries. Technology, halal and finance. These two areas also we are encouraging. We are pushing Islamic finance and halal industry, which we think provide a good potential for our members. Right? So that's as to the micro fund. Of course we support where there are funds coming in, right? To help businesses. Of course we'll support. However, I mean the training, not all business will succeed. From my experience, it's very difficult, right? For someone we have a proper training, proper guidance to go into business. We have our EDC at SMCCI, which provides exactly the same thing, consultancy and advisory for young entrepreneurs or startups and so on, whatever to start a business. Advisory center, the debt advisory center. Okay, now going back to I'm a lawyer by profession, so I deal a lot with debt and recovery and so on. I think there are many agencies which provide such service already. I think we need to coordinate. I'm thinking about whether there should be a center. I think Malay Chamber, we can play a role. We have a building, we have a center where we think we can go to PNP maybe to provide to cooperate in providing service. Thank you.
My name's Tim Holden. I'm from Malton International Group. Earlier, Liza mentioned that there was a $10 million government community integration fund, and he said that it had been untapped. So just the point I want to raise would be, to help solve some of the issues we've raised today. Is there any initiatives that you're aware of where they might be tapping or looking for Muslim entrepreneur expatriates that could help to lead some of these initiatives in terms of...
the next step would be to bring this to market, so to say.
Yeah.
So definitely we would be requiring help from any aspect, whether it's local, Muslim, or...
Yeah. But the $10 million fund, as you said, is
I'm not very
untapped.
familiar with that integration fund itself.
It'd be interesting to...
Yeah, of course, if there's grants that we can tap on in any of these aspects, we would definitely try and tap on the grants and so on.
Yeah. The other point to raise also, what's happening with things like the surplus MOS funds. The professor, I think, made a very good point about, and I also had the same idea, having some sort of micro investment program. And maybe that could be something that could be, you could use surplus MOS funds or surplus funds from those.
Yeah. The thinking here is also that most of the help so far for micro business programs would have come from either public funds, MOS, and MUIS, and Zakat, and Sedekah, and stuff like that. Is there a way to make it attractive for the private sector to come in? For example, it's something which we will be thinking about in when we go into this.
Maybe a one-to-one contribution to encourage savings on a small scale. $100.
What we are doing moving forward, the solution mentions very much microwaves. It's just my sense. So I thought that there could be a little bit more that we should touch on the aspect of narrowing the gap between the rich businesses and poor. So we used to be, back in the 1950s or 60s, we used to be the second richest community after the government. This culture of doing wakaf among the rich businesses then was very much alive. But since 1988, actually, the last wakaf was done in 1988. So there's something that I feel there's a big gap. What happened to this rich business community or the rich business people among the community? I was just looking at that aspect, whereas maybe perhaps what we are lacking is that value-focused economy. What are the values that all these business people are carrying? So I'm just putting up my feelings about this whole solution. Because what you're suggesting is on the micro business fund. On a smaller scale, like for example, people as we have done so, and so what we need is to make it, to institutionalize it, to make it more happening. We can work, together on this aspect. But really what I'm trying to see is there any other quantum leap solutions that can really move and bring our bottom 20%, upwards, because we know, the fact is that the fact remains that there's such a big gap between the highest income and the low income. And it also happens, I feel there's a very big gap there, even in the living.
How has your micro program been in PPI outside? Is it similar kind of figures that you see, 40% increase in your in income with an investment of 1,000?
Yeah, we did a pilot project among the 21 Muslim women. We gave them the seed fund to buy, say, an oven, or sewing machine. Mashallah, it was a 100% success story because we buy for them based on the zakat donation, and we told them that if they are able to pay us their loans in the next 6 months, then they will be waived. And they were very disciplined enough to do that.
So that's the thing. We made a difference for that 21 people. We made a difference for that 100 over people. And it may be small, it may be $400 to us in our eyes, but to them it is a huge difference.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing to that.
Correct.
Maybe
So,
just institutionalize it.
Correct. So it's how do you bring it to that next level where you can scale it up?
Yeah, we scale it.
And I was just purely talking about zakat, wakaf. Can that really take us to the next level? Or we need to do something else?
But what I'm saying, this is good. It's what we need to do. But where is that other element, how can we capture this other group, the already existing rich, wealthy Muslims, that can actually bring back the culture of contributing back to the community? In-thought business, wakaf and things like that.
Minority Voice is also going to introduce some wakaf programs going forward the next few months. That's my program. Where they will encourage.
So I hope we're not losing sight of that.
No, it's just that we don't cover, we can't cover. I think that Muiz is the best person to spearhead this one.
Kami Ismail, I currently am running my own business in Singapore. I would like to touch about the vision of this micro business. Okay, right now I'm building a community, a business community here in Singapore and Johor itself. The working name is Malays in Business. We still do a proper name there. Okay, this thing because for the development fund, when you already have like 1,000 families, but are you creating the industry itself? Like we know that all these small businesses right now the trend is really making what you call cakes, all this stuff. But are we making an industry out of it? Like maybe one business A&P have one small business to supply flour.
I think they have been things like the central kitchen and stuff like that. So
Central kitchen is one thing, but I'm talking about the supply itself. Are we making?
I think when we get the economies or we get the critical mass, these things will. I mean, I'm assuming that these things people can actually SMCZ, for example, maybe the conduit whereby they see a lot of people then ordering a certain, like you said, certain item that they can come together and get bulk purchases and stuff. I think that's what you're alluding to.
I'm talking about creating a business or supplying business. Like I've been asking people around, like you know, we have a lot of stalls, Malay stalls, that selling mee rebus stuff. Okay, but we do not have any Malay business that are supplying the mee kuning. Yeah, that's the problem. You can just imagine that all these stalls actually buy.
The problem is, why aren't people doing it? You see the opportunity.
Yeah.
People see the opportunity. Why aren't they taking the next step? Say, I can be that supplier.
Yeah. Because
it's obvious.
Yeah. Because if we just create a business, you know, like I just create one company making.
Theoretically, market forces should think that someone comes in and does it. Yeah. I have no answer as to why it's not in. Who comes in? Someone from another community comes in and does it. But why are we doing it?
But a body like BPMS, they should come up with a company that supplying noodles, and at the same time, we must actually teach all these people, all these machi that they should get from the Malay supplier.
I mean, there has to be a reason for that,
Yeah.
competitiveness or whatever. I mean, not just for you have to be better than other people.
Okay, I like your boss.
This gentleman.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ismail Ibrahim, member of PMP. I can't help but when I listened to you just now for your thesis of your strategy and recommendations with regard to strengthening the community's financial protection, I'm assuming that you are targeting the lower income. Because I look at the micro business I look at the creation of the debt of the center and you're maximizing the potential of the non-tertiary educated youth. To me, these are not new. And there are already existing organizations that are doing this. My hope is that the way I look at it, the third one, which was, I mean, in a way you presented very quickly, the potential of the non-tertiary educated youth, yes, I agree with you. This will be future leaders. And also the majority that will hold the community. Because relatively we are young, we are the youngest. Now that should be taken out from the community. By virtue of them being special. And you said just now about to do it in a holistic approach. So you should take this out as a special project. Because they are not working at the moment, they are going to work eventually, right? We heard about problems of them dropping out and so on. So we need to tackle this holistically. What we can do to assist them. And in a way, you've got to also reach out to other bodies, other organizations, be it government and non-government, to see how you can help this group. That's what it is. And it can cover them. If they are successful, they pursue their education or they get good jobs and they create their own business, that's fine. And the rest will sort of go in. Now, creation of a micro business development fund. We have started the micro business in ENP itself. You highlighted it as well. You're talking about creating a fund.
Scaling up.
How much are we talking about in fund? 1 million? 5 million? 10 million? What is the amount?
The figure that's playing on our mind is roughly about 150,000 a year to support or to benefit 150 families. That's the initial figure that we're thinking about. You saw about 300 families over the past 5 years. So it's 3 times. We're not being too ambitious to say, because again, you need to get the funding. You need to find ways to find the funding. So if you say 5 million, I cannot promise you anything.
Now, we know there are other bodies that are doing this as well.
Exactly.
For example, PBIS,
and the rest.
Mandaki also, right? And AMP.
Correct.
And to a certain extent, even Dewan. So we need to find out whether, and insofar as AMP is concerned, we talk about it for 5 years or 10 years, how will this be really solid to strengthen your community's architecture or financial architecture?
Because you ask PBIS and you ask partners and ourselves, It's now the next step, scaling this up. We've all done it to this level. We've all done it with funds from Lada's funds.
Yeah, I agree. And that would be like an ongoing exercise that you have started the last convention. So in a way, it's not new. So what you may want to look at, you may want to look at is how you can sort of make it more widespread. Yeah, and in this area, we should network with, for example, IE Singapore, Spring Singapore.
So if we can break
which
the glass ceiling,
in a way, their one is very much involved in it.
Exactly.
So the way I look at it is this the task of EMP to do. Because if you look at the framework that you have here, I would say that the youth is something that you should focus. Because you talk about 10 years just now. This is the one that will make or break the community, as what you say. Yeah? And in your earlier presentation, you mentioned about to have this finance, you need income. And the income will be from those who are working. And when they started working and they formed their families, they have problems about managing the finance. So they may overspend on what they earn. So really, when you talk about creation of a debt advisory center, again, it gives a negative connotation. Why can't we say creation of a financial advisory center? In a way, not so much of doing business, but how families can strengthen the financial aspect. In a way, they plan for their children's education, they plan in case they get this internal and external shock, right? And they also plan for their retirement. And I agree with the other two speakers that mentioned about PMEX. We have to look at PMEX because they are earning income. And they probably will be able to work for the next 10 years. So how can we ensure that they continue to work and they are able to support their families as well as when they retire? So that alone may not be sufficient because we are saying, well, we have a problem now. That is a problem, right? So why must you mention that?
That's the point. We did come to the crossroads. Should we set up a center to address financial planning as a whole? Or should we set up one that focus? We felt that the financial planning as a whole is being undertaken by two other people, money, SAM, so it would actually be a duplication on to that extent. Well,
I agree.
If we agree that is a serious problem, let's put it up front and say this is a serious problem. We have a center for you to go to.
If you have a center, you have to man a center. How many can you reach out?
That again will be the implementation.
So
process.
again, how effective that will be. I give you an example. I have I did some work with South Foundation. And they did this program about managing money. You are aware of that one. And for the woman, because women after a certain extent, they hold the money in the family. I do not know about you all, right? So I think you got to look at this differently, because this again, something that we've talked about. But really what will be impactful for the next 5 years or 10 years when you report back with regard to what we have achieved. So the way I look at it, while these are not what they call it, insignificant. They are. But we need to see what will be your target 5 years or 10 years, not 2 or 3 years.
There is an implementation.
What can you say after 10 years and you do the research? In other words, you get your target group, you follow them through. Right? Don't you set it? And then from there you can report.
So that's why research has been a component of this debt advisory center. Because honestly, I've been very honest with you, the actual hard data we do not have.
I think your assumption may be right there. Looking at it, because looking at how the community spend, and Ramadan is coming, you look at the result. So the way I look at it, we have to think differently for the next 10 years. Your arguments earlier on were very good. But I think in terms of what we want to recommend now,
there will be a lot of things which, and very valid, regionalization, looking at METs and stuff like that. If we could cover everything, fine. Like I mentioned earlier, we are looking for gaps, we are looking for errors, where we find that we actually can make a difference. If our micro business has made a difference with 350 families, and I can scale that up 3 times to now benefit 1,000 families, and I have the experience of running that 350 and successfully.
The issue that what would be the impact that, for example, I train people and they secure jobs and they earn at least $1,000 a month.
compared to $350 go into micro business and earn $400 a month? Which would be more effective?
The thing is, it's a different thing. Now we have families who husbands are working, for example, wives are not working. They can actually do this kind of business. They supplement the income of the family.
No argument, I agree about it.
If you can take that wife, okay, let me say, if you can take that wife, spend that $1,000, get her trained, get her to go out of the house and earn more than the 400, by all means, I'll be very happy.
True.
Yeah, so
that's why my question is, when you talk about the fund, and you're talking about $150,000 a year, you multiply by 10 years, it's 1.5 million. Right?
Correct.
How would that impact?
From the business point of view, I still think it's all the return of investment. It's all about the return of investment.
Yeah, so if you talk about, in this one, we're talking about strengthening the family, right?
And mind you, if we can add 40% income into the family, and the families have been strengthened, and the crisis comes and the family doesn't go into
Okay,
crisis.
sorry, do you remember I read a few months back, the issue of micro business, they're doing their cakes at home, and EA is coming after them. So how do you tackle that issue? So the whole idea of having a central kitchen to encourage those who have the skill and the knowledge, and creating brand names to be better.
These are happening. Central kitchen is happening.
Yeah, all these things are happening.
I received an email from SMC saying there's a central kitchen. So these are all ongoing.
I agree. So we talk about that. The 150,000 is not impactful. You say that we'll put 5 million for this development fund for micro business.
You can raise 5 million from me, I'll take that 5 million from you.
No, I'm not saying that. You say creation of micro business development fund. So for you to create that fund, you will not be able to reach out for more because you yourself are trying to create the fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
We are working with within figures we feel which are realistic. 150 a year, 150,000 a year. We can fit 150 families. I wish we could get
no question about that.
What is the main achievement of this particular recommendation will be if the glass ceiling can be go beyond, actually raise 150, come with some kind of scheme or whatever, that scheme can be used for PDIs and used for SMC and other people. And can you imagine the knock-on effect from that? So I think there is a bigger thing to it. I don't want to set 5 million and then fall short and then come to us and say like...
We can say it's a target. No, I'm just saying this so that it's just again recommendations at a glance. What do you recommend?
Okay. Questions? There's some people who have a few questions and then I'd like those who haven't answered. Yeah, I think the speaker right now should all at the negative point, right? So you're talking about the strengthening the community totality. Yes, I think one step further. What about those people? If you're looking at NUS graduate to be a politician, if you're looking at ACS, they are the assets of Singapore. Okay, so look at that aspect of that corner, which will help the low end, and then you have the network. Otherwise, you're looking at promoting and pushing the lower end. While what happens to those people who are ready-made, who are potentially there already, supporting those people who needed to be lifted up. So the question now is this. If you look at the framework, if you talk about asset income, we have consciously focused on this part. Because again, the whole concept is, you have this, but this doesn't work, no use also. And it so happens that this one is being occupied by the low income segment. The one with the network, the one with the asset, the one with the income are those that you just spoke about. Yeah? Do we, with limited resources, go and further try and motivate them to earn more and stuff like that? If we have resources, we go. Currently, with the limited resources we have, we think that actually focusing on this side of the balance sheet, so to say, is our focus. But my focus is basically in order to, for the society to rely on very much within the society in terms of passionate. If you have a Muslim community who are within the business field, those people who will not have that opportunity to go into the community that will not support their own community are there. It may not be majority, but at least they are there to supplement. Right? I mean, take the brothers there who willing to help. Correct. So, but don't expect this from other communities. Correct. So if we can also look into, maybe his focus is not purely there, but don't forget that area of concern to the areas that we are talking about now. It's related to a certain extent. Like I said, we also were looking how to create internships for IU. So if we ever come across a SME like this, we are more than happy to work with the SME to create. There's another question.
It is Sani. I noticed that panel uses cancer as a technology for that.
Yes.
But by setting the death advisory center as like the chemotherapy center or radiotherapy center, okay. You kill the cell, the patient will die. So my request is perhaps to look at how to prevent it.
Oh, prevention, yeah.
Correct. So I think you mentioned earlier about
there's an education component within the center. Yeah.
I was from the education panel. Part of the issue is actually there's no money, so I cannot go for tuition. There's no money, so I cannot go for tuition. It's related. Right?
It's related. Yeah.
And look at the social issue. So it's a social issue. No study, no jobs. So anyway, my point is, seriously, we need to make our community financially savvy. So they will not spend their money on the 55-inch TV, but rather invest in education. So I think having this debt patient is good. But it also encourages people to think that I have a lifeline, so I can continue this stuff.
Okay. There will be some kind of moral hazard, but I think it's a negligible moral hazard in a sense. Whether we have this or don't have this, people are just going to carry on with whatever lifestyle they are going to have. This is.
Perhaps I think the branding is important.
The one I agree. The branding and the outreach.
Beyond solving the problem is the resources to
So there will be three components: the advisory, the education, and the research. Okay, I think we run out of time. We can stay, for those of you who want to ask questions and stay back, please feel survey. What are survey? Poll, yes. Okay. I need to do this because we're going to just get a very rough show of hands. Okay. For those of you who think that the Desk Advisory Center is a recommendation which is worthy of following through, can you just maybe raise your hand? For those of you who think that the creation of a micro business development fund, please, sorry, I can't have a seat. Just put up your hand. Micro business development fund, please raise your hands. Let's do the count. Okay, and the third one, you will find in maximizing the potential of non-tertiary associated use. Put up your hands. Okay. What time do you have to be back in the 1:30?
Lockdown.
Okay.
Up but before 1:30.
Okay. We would advise you to get back to the auditorium before 1:30. I think there's a lockdown of the lifts. It becomes very difficult to access the auditorium. Okay. Otherwise, those who want to stay back, I think our panel will be here and I will be here. You can ask any question. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and for your feedback. We seriously need to concentrate on all the